How's it going, Canvas International 6th grade? Mr. Bubba here. I am making a short video that's a crash course in Schoology. That's where most of our digital online school stuff will be housed. Now, each of our curriculums comes with different apps that your students will need to know how to navigate for each one of our classes. But Schoology is kind of a big one, at least for my class. So this is a quick crash course on a few objectives. I'm gonna flip my screen around. We're gonna go over grades, how to understand your grades, using class materials, that kind of stuff. But my goal is that you see this from a student view so that when you're navigating this at home, you know where to click, where to find stuff. Okay? So let me flip the screen around. I got a couple of screen grabs. I'm gonna introduce these ideas to you first, and then we'll actually go log into Schoology and look at it through a student view. So my thumbnail looks like this picture here. Every other teacher's is gonna be a little bit differently. In my class, we will only post things in our individuals and societies class. There will be nothing posted in the design. The way I teach the course, I combine the two subjects together, so you'll only get one grade in my class because they're all merged together, and you're only going to get information in one piece on Schoology. We have to leave the design in there because it's a scheduling thing that causes the system to work for us, but you will only go to our INS class and you will only get a grade for social studies. We're combining it all, and I'll show you how that's going to work in just a moment. So our objectives, let's talk about finding your grades, understanding your grades, pathways to success if you don't like where you are at the moment, digital class materials, and communicating with the teachers. Now, I'm going to show you how this works in my classroom. However, I will tell you that many other teachers have a very similar style. They might have a few differences, but overall, I think this is going to be pretty well accepted by most of your 6th grade teachers. First, finding your grades, okay? This is what my class looks like when you click into it, and you're going to notice on the left-hand side, you're going to see a whole bunch of different buttons and a couple of different apps, all right? Some of these apps will work for us, some of them will not. It depends on your class, and it also depends on the district subscriptions. But let's talk about hitting this grades button right here. So when you log in, you're going to hit grades. Now, Schoology generates a kind of complex view of your grades. Unfortunately, it shows you your grade for the entire year, broken into semesters, then broken into quarters, and then broken into categories of activities. So it's a little to click through, but once you understand it, it's pretty easy. So look, we're here in the extended year, first semester. So extended year, first quarter, and if you skip all the way down here, you can see extended year, second quarter, where there's no grades yet because we're not in the second quarter. So it's given you a first quarter or first semester grade based on the first quarter grade, and that first quarter grade is based on all of the grades within that first quarter within these categories. My categories, and every teacher's will be a little different, are classwork, station activities and notes, exit tickets and homework, participation, tests, quizzes, assessments, and projects, right? You can see that we have several different individual grades in the classwork, stations, activities, and notes. We have no exit tickets and homework because we have not done much of that in this first unit. We've done a lot of journaling instead. We have one participation grade here, and we have one project, My Life on a Timeline, and you can see that there is no grade for that one because I have not graded it yet. This student has a rubric that's waited to be graded. Now, you notice that some of the grades are blue and some are black. If they're blue, that means that there is information on that class assignment that I've created. You'll be able to click in there and go see it and get all the details. I'll show you what that looks like in just a moment. If it's black, that means that it's just a spot in the grade book that there's nothing digital to access. For example, in this unit, we've been doing a lot of journaling, so that's all in class, that's all on paper, and I needed to give a form of feedback for the students, but there's nothing digital to see, so there's nothing to click on here. You notice that other grades have the IB rubric grade, 5, 5, 5, 7, 6 here, and the letter grade that it'll translate to in the district, okay? Those are loose translations, but I wanted to have that both present there for you so you kind of understand what you're seeing. Remember, 5 out of 8 would not average as a B, but in our situation, in the language of the rubrics, it's a B+. Now, you notice that this one student has an orange grade here. It says a 0, and it's missing. That's a red alert if you see anything orange. And I have a little note to the student here. It said, hey, I can't grade this until you hit the submit button. Can you submit this assignment and send it my way? So anytime you see anything orange, we want to watch out for that. And we'll talk about that in just a moment. But also over here, you'll see any feedback. Quite often I try to give students notes, generally on their growth here, or sometimes I'll leave comments in the actual assignment itself. So depending on where I leave the comment, if it's in the document, it won't appear here. If it's in the grade book, it will appear here. It just depends on the assignment we're doing. If I want a student to look at one paragraph of an essay, the comment will be inside of the document because they need to be able to go look at that exact part. If it's just a general comment about the student's performance, I might put that here so it populates and it's easier to see. But either way, if you click on these blue highlighted things, or hyperlinked items, it will take you to more information. So understanding your grades, if you're marked with an exception in the grade book, these are the things you'll see. Anything that's green is good. Green means go. Orange, these are things you got to watch out for. Maybe you returned into an assignment, it's very incomplete. If I graded it, it's not going to be great, so I'll mark it as incomplete. Maybe I never got an assignment from you, so it's missing, or maybe it was late. Any thing that's incomplete or missing will turn to a 0 in the grade book, all right? Unless there's enough evidence to give you some kind of feedback. But typically, if it's marked as incomplete or missing, it's not going to go well for you. So when the quarter ends or final grades are due, these things stay 0s. Any incomplete grades become complete 0s, okay? Now, let's say you missed something in class. You were sick one day, you were at choir. Whatever the reason is, whenever you miss class, you have to make up what you missed, all right? Whether you're doing like an extracurricular activity or you're just out of town. If you miss something that you can't make up, let's say we did a class debate. We created this whole scenario within the classroom and you missed it. Well, you're probably not going to be able to make that one up because we had a whole interaction piece with it. So we might mark you as absent and you might have to do something different to recover that credit. Or maybe you're just exempted from it altogether. But let's say you miss class and for whatever reason, and it's like a vocabulary activity that you need to complete, you need to make that up so you're successful in the future lessons. Well, then we might mark it with this orange missing, which means it's a 0 in the grade book and it kind of gets your attention and saying, hey, this is something that's missing. You're going to need to move it forward. So let's get on it, okay? Look for these in your grade book, all right? On the other side over here, we have our translations from the IB rubric scales to the letter grades equivalents. This is a loose translation, but it's kind of here so you understand what you're looking at. And also over here, I have very general language that's kind of translates the score to some of the language we're using in the classroom. Now, when we do specific assignments that are assessing specific skills or specific areas of knowledge or specific types of content, the language in those rubrics will be much more detailed and much more tailored to the activity or the skill that we're assessing, all right? This is very general language. You mostly know it. You almost know it. You're almost there, right? Let's refocus. But when we're assessing a skill, the language will be tailored to that skill or be tailored to the piece of the IB rubric that we're assessing. And I'll show you that in an assignment. Now, let's say you're getting that feedback back and you are not happy with where you are right now. We are always going to be focused on growth. So maybe your first attempt wasn't the one you want to rely on to be your last attempt. Maybe you want to try it again. Maybe you want to use some of the feedback and make some edits and resubmit it. So here's the pathways to success if you're not satisfied with where you are now. First, you need to get the assignment back. Is it digitally? Do you need to go click on the assignment and read the directions there because you weren't in school that day? Or do you need to get a digital copy again? Maybe you submitted it and you need to let me unsubmit it so you can do some editing. Or if it's a paper copy, then you go to the extra copies bin in the back of my room, you grab a copy of it, you can do it in your spare time or do it at home for homework and bring it back. Let's say you've got the copy, you got the assignment, you got it back digitally, but you still need some help, okay? Maybe you're trying to rework an assignment, or maybe you were absent and you just don't understand the directions. All right, let's have a quick conference with the teacher. All right, I know it's not your favorite thing to do in the world, but all the teachers, almost all of us, will work with you during our recess time. It's the time that we're both free, all right? And we have all the materials we need in the classroom with us. You could check in with me for recess, maybe a 5-10 minute conference, and we could have you on your way to your free time, but also you'll leave with an understanding of what to do. Lastly, after you've gotten the assignment, you've gotten the help you needed, and you've worked on the assignment. Now we got to make sure we turn it in, okay? If you turn in something digitally, you might need to message me and say, hey, Mr. Bubba, I resubmitted that assignment from last week, because sometimes the notifications get buried in the new assignments. So you need to say, hey, please go give your attention to that so I can get that 0 out of my grade book, or that bad grade out of my grade book, and see where I'm at now. If it's a physical assignment, right, something on paper or whatever, you need to drop it in my purple Mr. B bin for grading, okay? Please don't put it in your class bin. Remember, my purple bin is my mailbox. If you put it in your class bin, that's your mailbox. I'll never see it. I'm just going to pass it back out to you ungraded. If you want me to look at it, you got to put it in my mailbox. All right? So that's a few pathways to success. There are obviously more options when it comes to getting more help. And sometimes getting the assignment might be a little different depending on if it's a project or a test. But generally, we're going to let you attempt things more than one time, and if it makes sense, right? If it's a performance thing where it's like we're doing it in the moment and assessing it in the moment, we might have to revamp this a different way, but growth is our goal here, okay? Lastly, let's take a look at what these digital materials look like. So what happens when you're in your gradebook and you click on one of these things? What pops up? What I'm trying to do this year is I'm trying to include as much information and detail in these digital assignments so that if you miss my class, or if you don't do well and you want to take another look at it, or if you were just confused by what happened in class that day, you have all of the information you needed to review it on your own. So this is an example of a document that we used as a template for a journal prompt. And in here you can see that I provided some background knowledge from what we were about to read. I could provide a link to the text we read. I provide a screenshot of the original text of another source. And then I provided the directions and the journal prompt right here and a space for students to put their work. All right, so this means that, let's say you were not in my class that day. You were at choir with Mr. Levy. You have everything you need here to be successful and complete this assignment. You may have missed some of the in-class cues. You may have missed a couple of conversation pieces that you could have had with table mates, but you can still participate in a way to recover credit and also understand what's going on as we move forward together. All right? And after all of that, let's say you still just need some clarity or you still want to touch base with us, okay? One thing that's really good for us to do is message back and forth. Yes, you'll see me every day in class. Yes, you'll see me in the hallways. But sometimes my schedule might get busy. Maybe during 1 week I have to do parent-teacher conferences or conferences with the 6th grade teachers, or something's coming up with my soccer team, and I'm just not able to meet with you like I want during our recess time. Or maybe you're busy. You need to go check in with another teacher, or maybe you're out of school for a whole week and you're just like, oh, I don't want to get too far behind. Then you can message us here. If you message me here, this will open up a little interface. You'll have to type in my name, but you can send me a message. Or you can always email me. This is my email address, and this is also posted for you on Schoology, okay? But always be communicating with us. If you want to try something again, let's do it early. Don't communicate with us a week before the end of the quarter, okay? So that covers finding your grades, understanding your grades, pathways to success, digital class materials, communicating with messages. Let's look at what it looks like in Schoology briefly, okay? So when I click here, this is my page, all right? You can see my banner, and what I typically do when I post new assignments that we're working on in class, they'll be up here at the very top. Down here, I got 2 folders of materials. This is our unit, Identity and Community, that we've just finished. We went a little past September 30th there, but when you click on this little caret here, you'll see it comes up with all the assignments and materials that we used for this unit, right? Anything that was digital, at least. Then down here, we have class materials. These are general materials that students might need to be successful throughout the year. I'll add to these as we go, like all the materials for Identity and Community will here. When we start our new unit, I'll start a new folder titled that unit with the dates so students can find what they're looking for. And then we have down here, like class rosters, understanding your grades, the class contract that we made as a 6th grade. It's all right here in one spot for students to see. The example assignment, if you were to click on it, you'd see the directions, materials, examples, oh, that's a typo right there, and criteria all posted for you, okay? This is what it looks like for a real project that we've already done. The My Life on a Timeline project will be graded on a rubric. So you can see that there's a rubric right here. If you click on that, it'll show the rubric criteria. And you can see here, I got a cue for like, this is the general theme that we were discussing in class, thinking chronologically, combining that with our identity work of who we are. I gave the directions. This was all done on paper copy as well for students, and I posted it digitally here. And then down below include examples, models, and rubrics, right? So here's the timeline rubric that we used to give them a grade. Let's say they were having a really hard time getting started. They just needed more modeling. There's a short video of how to set up and organize a timeline that we didn't watch this in class. We did some other cueing and modeling in class, but this is here as a reference. So even if you're not in front of me, you can still see this. And then down below, I've provided students with 3 high scoring examples. So they could see 3 different styles of going about this assignment that would help them perform well if they wanted to use a model. And down here, when I use a rubric, you're going to see the exact language. So remember the general language from this picture here of understanding your grade? Okay, we're not going to use that as, this might come up often, but we're going to try to use this as little as possible because I really want to give more meaningful feedback like this, all right? Is the accuracy of your content, is that at an 8 or is it down here at a 4? Are the facts accurate for all events reported on the timeline? Are the facts accurate for almost all events reported on the timeline? And you can see it goes down here in criteria. This gives much more detailed feedback, and this language is the kind of stuff that we want to tailor. So this is what it would look like for a student when they are logging in and looking at the materials in Schoology. And when I grade this assignment, this will show them their feedback. They'll have where they scored and a note if I leave one. Okay? So that's a lot. That's a quick crash course, but I hope it gives you a quick outline of how to do these things. As always, if you have any questions, please feel free to reach out to us, send us an email, message us on Remind. And as always, y'all, hope you're doing well, and we'll see you in the hallways.